All right. Hi, everybody, and welcome to Take Your Animation to the Next Level, part three. My name is Marley. I am an art streamer and manager at the channel Frederator network, where we help animators like Jaden Animations, Tabs, Ginger Pale, and our very special guest today, CircleToons, succeed in their careers on YouTube. I'm going to introduce our other panelists. I have my friend and coworker, Andrea. Andrea, you want to introduce yourself a little bit?
Sure. Hello, my name is Andrea. I'm an animation enthusiast, artist, and associate director of networks at Channel Frederator Network. So my job is kind of to make sure that the network continues to run and that everybody who has problems can get those problems solved, and make sure that if someone has a question about YouTube, that I can answer it. And then our final guest is one of our network members. He's super talented and we're super excited to have him here. And this is CircleToons.
Hey guys, CircleToons, or Christian, whatever you want to call me, either by my YouTube name or real name. I make animations on YouTube in a lot of weird ways. I make kind of like MS Paint puppet animations, and I do a lot of stuff in Adobe as well. But like they said, I'm part of the Frederator family, and I'm super happy to be here with my buds.
Awesome. So today's panel is going to be all about like kind of what to do as a creator once you're on the verge of, this really becoming, a serious revenue source for yourself, maybe even a part-time or full-time job, and kind of the steps that you need to take to follow up on that and really drive that success home. But before we get into any of that, Circle, why don't you tell us a little bit about like your history with art and animation? Like, what was your breakthrough into all of this?
So my breakthrough into the kind of digital world, because I've always been an animator, illustrator, designer since I was super young, but my breakthrough into the YouTube world and content creation world actually started on places like Facebook and Twitter first, where I was kind of just focused on throwing things at a wall until something stuck. And I was making, short animations. I was making just standard illustrations until I kind of discovered my sort of weird way to do videos. And, for the fans of the chat, they'll know what I'm saying. My kind of like puppet style animations. And that was the first thing that kind of just broke into the mainstream, that mold that everyone tries to break, that wall. But as soon as you start to see that hit in numbers, whether it be just a little bump or a bigger bump, you have to kind of stick with that and roll with it. But it started out actually on different social medias and then migrated to YouTube about 7 years ago.
Very cool. So do you remember the moment where you were like, oh wow, this is my career now? Like was there a specific like moment where you woke up one day and it was just like, okay, it's time to take this a lot more seriously?
Yeah, definitely. I would say like maybe it has to be 3, maybe 4 years ago now. I was on the grind for quite a while, which you definitely a lot of people underestimate. A lot of people think if you don't hit that super success in the first year, it's like, oh, I'm a failure, I can't be YouTube or whatever. I was making content for like half a decade with 5 views a video, right?
Yeah.
It's the grind. But I eventually branched out again, like as I was throwing stuff on a wall, trying to see what stuck. But I eventually branched out into my style that I created, where I'm like, recording my animations with a camera and animating them on the fly. And I made E3 in a nutshell 2017. And I plopped it on YouTube. I was like, whatever, another thing to chuck on YouTube. And I think I woke up and I had something like 200 or 300,000 views in a few days, the next day. And I was like, okay, at the time I think on like 10,000 subscribers, but still those numbers were enough for me to go, okay, I need to devote more time for this. I need to refine what I'm doing, and just really figure out a schedule on, how I need to take this seriously now. But it was about the 20,000 subscriber mark in that video.
Cool. Can you talk a little bit more about like So you were creating a schedule. Was there anything else that you did to kind of prepare yourself to make this more of an income source and a career? And were there any anxieties that came with making that decision that people should be aware of?
I think you're going to hit anxiety, every step of the way, even with success, because there's peaks and valleys in every sort of content creation, line. But with scheduling and kind of evolving from a not job to a part-time to a full-time, you really have to, treat it like a job. You really need to put in the hours. And if you have a job, outside of YouTube, when that's growing, you really need to work around that. And when it's migrating into a part-time job, you should really, be watching your time, growing your craft. And eventually, hopefully, if you keep getting those numbers growing, it'll grow into a full-time job, which, you really should nail down a proper schedule. It doesn't have to be 8 hours a day unless your content really, really needs that. A lot does. Animation, specifically needs a lot of time a day. And, but, a lot of people, I think, have this vision of YouTube that it's almost like, I can slack off. It's this online job, stuff like that. And no. You have to treat it, if you really want to make it, if you really want to, soar into this being a full-time thing and support yourself money-wise, you really have to treat it, like a real-time job. And, you're eventually going to hit that realization, and, everything from writing down ideas here and, 6 hours of animation here, or reaching out to people to help you, and figure out, the best way to get your flow going. Reach out to other animators, people that have been doing this, longer or differently, and see their process, build a community on how, to grow and to make your creation flow work well with what you're doing.
Yeah, I think as someone that works with a lot of the higher sub and view count talent here at the network, it's very much a hustle that you need to, I think, keep going, almost not 24/7, because that leads to burnout and stuff like that. But it's definitely something you need to be active and very much proactive about. I think there is this very much this mindset that once you reach that subscriber goal or that view goal, that you just kind of get to rest on your laurels from here on out. And that's very much not the case if working with you or some of our other network members like Ginger Pale or Mythsan has been any indication.
Right. No, that's perfect.
Nice. So when you notice that you're hitting that point where you're growing, what advice do you have to people to make sure that that's happening, that you keep that momentum going, that you keep it coming consistently? What did you do when you reached that point?
I think my advice for everyone in a broad sense, and for what I did, is if you see yourself growing and you really look at your analytics and you see, this video was a bump and maybe it wasn't, a one video fluke, because I know a lot of channels, might have low views, one spike, and then, it starts to slow down a bit. If you're seeing your channel just, get some more fans here and there and some popularity, really engage with them and figure out, why the bump, why people are starting to watch now. Maybe, if you're a gaming related person, maybe they really like that genre. Maybe you were doing sports games and now you're doing first person shooters and they really like first person shooters. So if you hit that area where you go, oh my God, I'm getting this bump, what you really need to do is capitalize on why it was created, but improve upon it. So don't continue to do the same thing over and over again, or people are going to get, bored of it, or they're going to be like, all right, I saw this 10 times, a month ago when you made this video. But figure out why they're there and give them more reasons to come back to that content that brought them in, but make that content a lot better.
Yeah. And Andrea, as someone that works on the operations side and is in analytics a lot, do you have anything to add to this?
Sure. So we should definitely talk about some of the things that we see just with all of our network members on Frederator. And of course, one of the questions we get most is, how can I make sure that my channel is consistently growing? And so it's definitely about like listening to your audience, as Circle was talking about. But you can also communicate with your audience in more ways than just uploading on YouTube. And this is something that we see with a lot of animators. Circle is kind of an outlier, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. But a lot of animators have problems because animation takes a really long time. And the YouTube algorithm, as we all know, likes you to upload videos very consistently. So it can be really difficult if you can only produce like one video a month or one video every 2 months to kind of keep that motivation going. So one thing that we suggest is, if you've got extra time, and we do suggest you make time for this in your schedule, is how else can you connect with your fans? Can you use your community tab? Can you have some other social media accounts? And what this will do is, we don't see like having, say, a Twitter account lead directly to views on YouTube. If you post a video on like Twitter, most people aren't going to click on it and go to YouTube because they want to be on Twitter at that moment. But what it will do is keep your audience really interested in you, maybe during those times when you're working on something that is taking you a bit longer. And it's also a really good way to interact with your fans outside of just looking at video comments. You can ask people questions in real time and get feedback, because what we try and tell people to focus on is, viral success is good and fun and all that, but it's not a guarantee. But if you listen to your audience and you give them the things that they want, and you show that you're kind of in a collaborative relationship with them almost, that is a way that will lead to consistent and sustained growth, all of those words. So that kind of segues into, there are some things that you can also look at on the back end, and that's YouTube analytics, when you're trying to figure out, why did this video get so many views? Feedback from fans is one of them. Obviously, look at comments. You should also look at your video impressions. So this is how many people are, say, clicking on your thumbnails. Because you can have the best video in the world, but if your thumbnail sucks and it doesn't effectively communicate what the video is about, you're not going to get very many people clicking on it. Same thing with your titles, first few lines of your description. It can really give your content a boost, even if you think like it's a really good piece or a really good video. Think about like titles and thumbnails as kind of billboards for your content. You want to give people a really accurate idea of what those videos are about. And looking at impressions on YouTube analytics, and you've got this if you've got a YouTube channel, it's YouTube Studio, it comes free. You want a higher click-through rate. That's how many people see the thumbnail and then click on it. And then you also want to look at your traffic sources. This is where your views are coming from. If you're getting a lot of views from like suggested videos is one of the traffic sources, and you can see, are you getting a lot of views from this type of video? Well, maybe it would be worthwhile to make a similar type of video. And then view duration is the final one that we really strongly urge people to look at. And that's how long people are watching your videos for. Of course, you want people watching the entire time, but it's good to look at and see like, oh, there's a lot of people who maybe aren't watching at this specific moment. Perhaps that's boring and I shouldn't have it like in another video. Or this one has like, people are watching the entire way through. What's so good about it?
Yeah.
Does you guys have anything else to add?
No, that was very thorough.
Killed it.
All right, so Circle, obviously there's been a lot of discussion on the internet recently about, content creator burnout, whether that's Twitch or YouTube or like anything else out there. Content creation is a lot of hard work. Animation especially so, you're drawing for hours and hours to, maybe end up with a few seconds of work in what is supposed to maybe be a 2-minute video. With a creator like you who has such a heavy output, especially by like the animation community standards, like what do you do to make sure that you're taking care of yourself? And like, what advice do you give to like other people who are maybe like facing this grind right now?
So definitely don't underestimate the power of a break. That's never a sign of weakness. That's never a sign of like you hate what you're doing or whatever. It's healthy to take breaks. And in that time that you take a break, you should, ingest other content, maybe take inspiration, because a lot of the times when people get burned out on anything, not just animation, it's because they're only creating, they're not really taking in. So you're just kind of, wringing the creative rag dry and, you run out. So really take an inspiration from other places while you're working and when you're taking a break, seal days off for yourself. I try to make my weekends, for me, for the most part, I'll still, if I have a slow weekend, I'll hop on the computer and animate if I want, but I try to make my weekends my pretty slow time. And, but again, with a healthy schedule, going back to the beginning, you really need to fit in time to do that, to take care of yourself. And just from that standpoint, your content is not going to be, people can really tell when you love your content and when you're happy making it. And that's going to show in the video, right? So if you want to make good content, you got to take care of yourself. No one's going to love it if you're making a video, if you're a Let's Player or an animator, if you're just pumping out, they're going to notice it if it seems disingenuous if you're just kind of doing it to do it, not because you love it. They'll respect you more and you'll respect yourself more in your content. If you take time to enjoy what you're doing, and not just to do it to do it. Nice.
So when you're taking in other content, like to kind of refresh your batteries, are you watching other animators? Are you the type of person who needs to like take in something totally different? Like what's your rule set there?
No, I totally take in other animators. I love trying to find YouTube animators from massive ones to tiny. I love just finding the creativity that's just on the internet, because I'm always blown away by YouTube animators. And sometimes you'll see them with just like 300 views and I'm like, this is incredible. I'm like, oh, why is this here? So yeah, I try to take in from other people. I'll watch, a lot of, shows, TV, anime a lot of the times. A lot of times it's good just to relax and listen to music. Music can give you inspiration for animation, at least for myself, like no other, because it helps you, dive into other mediums. When you're taking in from every angle, it's really good to refine your one medium that you're using. But yeah, just whatever you enjoy, and even stuff you don't enjoy, a lot of people, you can get, a lot of people just ingest things that they really love. Right. Yeah. And a lot of times that can plateau you and you kind of just, you love what you love and you make something wrapped around that. But watch stuff you hate. Watch opinions. Get some fire inside you of stuff you don't like, and that'll give you some ideas of what not to make and what you don't like, and that'll refine the stuff you do like even more. So diversify.
Nice.
So I think if you're okay with me jumping ahead a little bit, I think this would now be a good time to talk about Circle's style of animation, because as we've been saying, it's pretty unique and it allows him to release videos a lot faster than a lot of other animators while still producing like really good quality work. So we do have a little video from Circle that we can play right now.
Hey, buddy, a quick question for you. What does it mean when your poop's a little red? Shut up, okay? There's an enemy camp over there, and I'm trying to figure out the best way to approach this. But they're so far away, it doesn't even matter. It's gonna take forever to approach them. Not necessarily. Okay, so basically the physics engine in this game barely works. So we make a stack of watermelons and jump into it, and I'll shoot them like a goddamn cannonball. Okay, stand back. This is a very difficult trick to pull off, so I need to concentrate. Skella Wizard, I have to say, we've been traveling for over 8 years now, and I just want to say that our adventures would not feel the same without you by my side. You're my brother, my friend, and the love of my life. Oh, you're not gonna believe this. They dropped 3 gold bars. That's awesome. I'm glad you fought them fair and square. Hello, I'd like to do some trading.
Hello, welcome to my humble store. I only sell one item, and it is my magic fish stick. It costs 3 gold.
Yeah, this is actually my second playthrough, so I already brought the exact amount of currency I needed, so I'm going to be picking that up today.
Okay, I don't know what you mean by that. It makes it seem like my reality is one big lie, but thank you.
Okay, goodbye. Hey, dude, we gotta be careful. I think there's a mountain giant up ahead. I know. Why do you think I bought the fish staff? It's the perfect item to kill him. Yeah, but that thing doesn't do damage. It just teleports you, right? Yeah, but there's a glitch where if I teleport inside him at just the right angle, our hitboxes will melt together and he'll instantly die. Watch. Hey, dude, I don't think I want to play this game with you anymore.
So that's showing of my weird unorthodox style. Again, I have like my two pieces. I have my longer analytical videos where we do standard animation. I have a buddy, Doodle Demon, on Twitter that helps me out a lot with those. But then I have my MS Paint videos, and how those came to be is kind of an odd story. So again, going back to where I started out on Facebook and Twitter and things like that. I used to make these short videos called 45-second Pokemon drawings. And if you're an OG fan, you recognize that. There's a website, I think, called PokeDraw, where essentially you'd click a button and it would give you a Pokemon from the original 151. And it would say, all right, you got 45 seconds and like 10 colors. You got to draw this thing as fast as possible. And I, at the time, just for fun, I decided to draw the Pokemon in 45 seconds on my art tablet while just recording with my camera. And people loved that series so much because it was just like raw and authentic. I was just drawing and I was kind of like voicing the Pokemon as I was doing it. And I later on did over, I think, 100 episodes of that series. I should have just finished the entire run of the first batch of Pokemon. But this is a good showcase of I was getting burnt out. And when I was getting burnt out on that, I was like, you know what? I still want to keep this style of, I'm moving my camera as I'm like organically moving these characters in real time. And I'm like ad-libbing the voices in real time. I'm doing it all at one moment. I don't pre-record the voices and then edit them in later. I'm doing it in one go. And the way that I solved my problem of doing too many Pokemon animations and wanted to keep that style was I was like, okay, I'll go into the crappiest program I got, MS Paint, and I will, doodle these dumb characters and I will write my own little, stories for them, whether it be about video games or anime or movies, like my Avengers cartoon. But it gives me the freedom now to do anything I want with my cartoons, but it keeps like the rawness and silliness of this like camera puppet style that was created all those years ago for the Pokemon stuff. So that's how this weird style came to be. I don't know. That's how it came to be.
Well, and what I really like about it is, first of all, it's like incredibly unique. I feel like it's a style of animation that could only exist in like our like weird new internet age. Right. But it's also incredibly efficient. It allows you to get videos out on a pretty regular basis compared to, I think the standard for a lot of other animation channels out there. What advice do you have for someone who's trying to, I guess, come up with a style that maybe allows them to get greater output without, the necessarily the time constraints of like traditional animation methods?
Really refine what you're doing and really, 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 really learn the program you're working with. A lot of people aren't utilizing, if you're either in Toon Boom or Adobe Animate or MS Paint or just anything that you're using, really learn the ins and outs of that with its hotkeys or symbols or anything that can really just streamline your workflow. Because you could be an incredible artist and you can be really bad with your workflow. So you could really make just beautiful stuff, but because you're maybe taking an extra 5 minutes to do something that could take 30 seconds in this animation program, you're really going to hinder yourself. So learn the canvas you're using and, look up ways that maybe other animators use it, because, you can always configure it the way, you like, whatever streamlines it the way that, works for you. So just really, work on your canvas and then work on things to really help your style. Some things that you might really like might be hindering you and not really, maybe worth the time. Maybe, if you're working on dust kicking up in a scene that took 2 days for the dust to kick up, but it took, only half a day for you to do the animation that went into that dust. Maybe figure out what's really worth it to keep the quality of your product high, but that, people aren't waiting 5 years for the next upload.
Yeah, that's definitely something I run into a lot, especially with like new animators who are interested in joining the network. You know, oftentimes they're like fresh out of school. They think like, listen, I'm going to output Walt Disney Company level animation onto YouTube on a regular basis. And it's always a very difficult conversation of like putting expectations in check and letting them know like, you can do that if you want, but heads up, like it's probably not going to be like a viable career path if that's genuinely what you want from this. Right. And I think there's a ton of great examples out there of like meeting somewhere in the middle. And so that's definitely something like I recommend to a lot of young animators, is to kind of like swallow your pride and realize that like at the end of the day, there is like a business output level to this. Right. And you're going to need to check yourself a little bit.
Right. Yeah. With the conversation of, with this becoming your full-time job, you gotta put, some of that aside and realize that, it is going to be a job if this is your career in business. You have to make both work.
Yeah.
So I think our last kind of bit that we wanted to get to today was, speaking of making things a full-time job, as anyone who's got a YouTube channel that monetizes knows, YouTube ad revenue is kind of unreliable at best, especially right now. We had a huge drop in CPMs across the network. That's money made from ad revenue, starting at the start of quarantine. And so it can be really difficult to say, I want to make this my job, when you don't know how much money you're going to be bringing in each month. So Circle, are there any other ways that you use to bring in revenue besides just relying on YouTube ads alone?
Yeah, I would say work into the merchandise space. I used to do, things from hats to shirts to hoodies, the general stuff, but I've now moved into like plushies and figures, which again moves into listening to the community, because if you want this to be your full-time job and you want to make money, doing it, the people that are gonna sign your paycheck essentially are your fans, and you have to realize that they're the ones making it for you. So talk to them, realize what they want. And in the merch space, my shirts and hoodies and hats, they were doing decent, but not that great. And I was like, all right, well, what would you guys like to see? We did this poll, and the poll like overwhelmingly was just like plushies and like collectible things. So I worked for a few months on that, and that helped fill in the gaps growing my channel from YouTube being up and down. That it really helps seal that. And if you don't communicate with your fans, you're never gonna think to go that route, and it might be something totally different. Maybe your fans really does enjoy hats and hoodies more than plushies. So diversify, maybe try merch, really look at your YouTube analytics for your watch time, because that's where the biggest, I feel, as you guys know, probably gaps in pay happen is from watch time. And really look at your analytics and see why your watch time dipped in one point, or where it starts rising. See that piece of content that you're making in that video and realize why people stuck around or why people left suddenly. And hopefully that line will get a little more flattened when you start to really refine what you're doing. It'll make your income a little more steady.
Nice. And I know for us here at Frederator, there's lots of ways that that we help with that, self-plug time. So obviously I brought up personal management, something I think that sets Frederator's MCN apart from a lot of others is we're really hands-on with our talent. Circle can attest to this.
Oh yeah.
We really want to get to know you guys. We really want to like help you succeed. So every channel that joins gets a personal manager, which I think is, it's at the end of the day, in its simplest form, it's someone to bounce ideas and stuff off of. And I think that's something every creative person could really use, is just a sounding board for whatever thoughts that they might have. I know one of our biggest draws to the network is the $1 Million Fund, which is a funding initiative that we set up to kind of help network members who have what they think could be the next big idea but maybe they need some upstart funding to help get it off the ground. It's almost like think of it as a small business loan, but with like far less scarier terms. It's far less scarier terms. If anyone in the audience is a fan of Saberspark, he actually launched his animated series, Drunk Recap, with the money from the Frederator $1 Million Fund. And we actually just gave him the funding for episode 2, which should hopefully be coming in the future. So like, that's some stuff that like I oversee personally. And that's how here at Frederator, I do my part to kind of help channels out. Andrea, what about you?
So what it boils down to in terms of just like using a network, and obviously at Frederator, this is something that is basically our job, is to make sure that like the channels that join with us, you know, are really entering into a partnership with us. So if you're in a network or you're thinking of joining one, remember that, you know, we're there to help you. So in addition to things like personal management and the $1 Million Fund, what a network should be able to provide you as an original animator is one of the things that a lot of our network members find useful is content ID. So if you've got an animation channel or any kind of YouTube channel, and maybe you got dinged for using some kind of music that you thought was public domain but wasn't, you think of content ID from the getting claimed side. But if you're an animator and you start to get big, we notice that a lot of our network members, especially animators, have issues with people just taking their stuff and re-uploading it on their own channels, which is not cool. So one of the things that a network can do is we have those content ID capabilities where we can basically tell the content ID robots, like, somebody else uploads your work, we can claim it for you. And that way, you know, if you want to leave it up, but you want to get all the money from the ad revenue, you can do that. If you want to block it so that it's only showing up on your channel, that's also fine. We also provide assistance with merchandise. So I'm pretty sure that Circle did all of the merch stuff on his own. But for smaller channels who are maybe just starting out, a network is a really good place to go for, all right, how do I get started with merch? I know that we work with CrowdMade, but there's also other merch companies that you can use. And then finally, we've got a brand sponsorship team. And so sponsorships are another thing that can really help you kind of keep your income steady, like Circle was talking about. And again, that goes back to, as he was also talking about, things like watch time, view duration. If you've got a really active and engaged audience who's leaving a lot of really good comments on your videos, watching all the way through, that shows that they're really interested not only in like maybe what you're producing, but also kind of like their relationship with you as a creator, and brands absolutely love that. And a sponsorship can get you vastly more money than just putting ads on your video. So that's also something that networks can help out with, especially if you've never done sponsorships before, you might not be certain how to get started. So that's something that we help our channels out with. Sometimes it's finding sponsorships, sometimes it's just like walking you through the steps of how to get your first one, and also telling you if that email that you received about a really lucrative sponsorship is real, or if it is a scam. Click on, because then your channel will be hacked. Don't do that. Just be really wary of people who say that they want to give you $5,000 for 500 views if you just click on that link.
Right.
Yeah.
Very smart.
So yeah, we are getting close to the end. So why don't we get to the Q&A portion of the panel? One of the top voted questions right now is and we can all chime in on this. Is it too young to start an animation channel when you're around the age of 13 or 14? As someone who went to art school for animation and didn't actually start animating until he was like right around 18, I personally say that if you have the ability to start animating now, definitely do it. Animating and art in general is like, I like to compare it to a muscle. It's something that you need to be constantly doing to get better and stronger in. And I wish I had had the opportunity to start at that young age. If you are that age and you're looking to also like create a channel, I would just say, be careful, be safe with what you do. And just like, keep expectations in check. I know that can be kind of hard when you're that age. But, really just look at that time period as a proving ground for yourself or a training ground. Don't try to focus on necessarily like getting big and being, the next odd ones out. Like those are your learning years, and like really focus on using them for that. Anything else extra that comes from it is like gravy. But what do you guys think?
To hop off of what you just said, I was gonna say, don't be afraid to make mistakes. I think when I started like really trying to become a digital animator, I think I was 16. So it's never too young. But CircleToons is like my fourth channel. So the other three are buried. So, everyone has their growing period. And if you're starting your animation journey at the age of 13, or if you're starting at the age of 30, if your first week is happening, then you're going to be the same skill set. So, but like what Marley just said, make mistakes, set your expectations to a reasonable level. You're not going to make one video and explode, you're a millionaire, and you're cashing those checks, as great as that would be. But just get ready to really put in the work, and get ready for comments that probably aren't so great, and get ready for that first dislike, and you're like, oh man, and if you're at that stage where you can handle that sort of stuff at that age, because a lot of people aren't at that stage, later on, really have that talk with yourself if you're ready for that. And if you are, chuck some stuff out there, take, the bad that comes with it and the good, let it, roll off your back and just continue making content. But no, you're never too young to start making stuff. Go make stuff. It's fun.
Yeah, I would just agree with both of you. I think whenever you're starting a channel, it's more like mentally healthy to go into it with a learning mindset. Like, I'm going to learn what works for me, what doesn't, what this YouTube world is all about, as opposed to I'm going to, be able to not have to apply to a job when I'm 18 because my YouTube channel will be making me thousands and thousands of dollars.
Yeah,
right.
Just playing off of this whole discussion real quick, I very recently started art streaming over on Twitch, and I took, like, having worked with like content creators for 3 years now, I took a very casual approach to it this time versus like other times in the past when I tried taking on YouTube. And I just told myself, you know what? These beginning stages, it's fine that there's not a ton of viewers in the chat hanging out with you. Just told myself that over and over again. And what that period of time where there was no one there ended up being for me was like an opportunity to, learn the platform, figure out what I wanted to do exactly. And I got to do it with no expectations on me. And like, I think that's when you really want to do your growing, is like at that point before you like have a huge audience. And, I tried a bunch of things. I ended up discovering that I didn't like game streaming all that much. And then I found art streaming, and I'm way more happier. And then all of a sudden people started showing up because they could obviously tell I was way more interested in this. And I wouldn't have learned that without that period of time where I wasn't, I guess, I don't want to say I'm popular because I'm not yet, but like I wouldn't have learned that without that time where there was like no one watching, and I had that opportunity to like mess around.
Totally. Yeah. Try different genres, really jump in there, like what Marla just said, I used to make Let's Plays and then got burnt out and then tried animation. I love that. So find your little nook.
Yeah. I want to keep video games my alone time. So we have a really good one here. It was, what are some don't do tips, when you're starting out, or when you're, I guess, since to refocus it around our discussion, like when you're at that point where this is now a income source and a job for you, what are some don't do things that you recommend people avoid?
I think as far as don't do's, I think don't sacrifice. I know we just spoke about balancing the quality of your content and your output, but really don't let those tip one way. Don't, floor your content to, if you see money coming in, don't be like, all right, I'm going to make a video every day to, cash these checks. Because people are going to see that and they're going to be like, all right, I'm not watching these.
Yeah.
So really keep that balance. Love what you do. Keep that content, something that you're proud of at the end of the day. That you can still, make efficiently. But really just when you see that, that light at that tunnel that, is like, oh, this might be a career, really don't jump on it too hard. Let it organically flow in and, don't really super change your course of action because you see it in the distance.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think the other thing is, just as Circle was saying, don't get too excited. We all know that YouTube can give and YouTube can also take away.
Right.
Yeah.
So, you maybe got like 1 million views one month and you're really excited about that. And you've got like a nice large ad revenue check to cash. You might not get that next month. You might get it next month and then your views might drop because whatever traffic source your 1 or 2, really hot videos was using has, maybe it got taken down because of a copyright strike or some other reason. So, slow and steady wins the race. It's okay to get like a little bit excited, but make sure that you keep your head in the game and keep your mind on like, what is your ultimate goal here? And that should be to be building out your group of core fans, and continuing to create the content that you really love instead of trying to like chase after trends. I want to just flag that. We've got several animators who I've talked to have been like, well, I made this video and it was about a thing that Google said was trending. So why didn't I get that many views on it? And trending is nice. Trending topics are really nice. And we definitely suggest that if you want to like stay abreast as to your general ecosystem and your niche, you should pay attention to trends, but they're not the be all and end all. If say like Pokemon is trending, but your audience isn't into Pokemon, you don't really want to make a video about Pokemon, because you're going to get maybe some people who are interested in Pokemon, but not the rest of your stuff, and your core audience isn't going to like it and they might unsubscribe. So keep your focus on what does your audience like and what do you like? And there's no like golden goose.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think another don't do tip is especially at that stage where you're you're on the verge of this turning into something, and I see this a lot, is don't like abandon your community. Maybe that's a little dramatic, but I feel like what I've been seeing a lot is people get so focused in on creating content and then posting it and then moving on to creation again. And listen, I get it. It's a hustle. You want to get back in the trenches, but take a moment to breathe and thank the people that are consistently watching your stuff. Get in the comments, like comments, reply to comments, drop a heart, post something in the community tab and have a dialogue with these people. Cause especially at that age, like those are your biggest cheerleaders. Those are the ones who are telling their friends. Those are the ones making sure to tune in like every time versus, the viewer who might have just casually saw you once and then moved on. Like these are the people that are really going to propel you to success. And you don't want them to feel forgotten because trust me, like YouTube communities will notice. They will notice and they will move on to someone else that is giving them that attention. And so you want to make sure that, take a moment to smell the roses, but also to thank the people that gave you the roses. All right. So someone asked, and this kind of ties into the discussion about your style. So given your style, how long do your typical animations that you post regularly take to make?
Right now I'm trying to post my typical Puppetmations every Friday. So right now they take roughly 3 to 4 days to make of, extreme, of drawing the stuff, recording, and the editing, because, what I can dodge with, frame by frame animation with this style, I take in, the editing to make this sort of style work. So, I try like on Mondays, this going back to like having a concrete schedule. I try, throughout the weekend and Mondays, coming up with ideas, writing stuff down on my phone. If it's an idea I think that's funny at 2 a.m. and I wake up the next morning, I'm like, hey, that is pretty funny. I'll check it out. But some stuff I'm like, oh, I don't know why that's stupid. So, you try to figure out stuff out. And then Tuesday, I'm in like the storyboard area where I'm just sketching out characters, figuring stuff out throughout the day. Wednesday is like my hard, drawing the characters, figuring it out, clean lines. And then Thursday is my record, where I'm going to record the audio and the camera angles and all the footage. And then Thursday night is like my editing and yada yada. And then Friday's post. So that gives you a pretty good, look into, again, why I'm saying you should figure out a schedule if you want to treat it like a job. And about how long it takes for me to make that sort of content. My longer videos, my analytical stuff, my 5-minute to 10-minute long stuff takes from anywhere between 2 weeks to 4 months, depending on what I want to talk about. So it's a broad, time area.
Yeah, I think the big takeaway there is that no matter what the animation style is, animation's going to take longer than you think it is.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Let's see. Andrea, are you seeing any questions that you want to ask?
Let's see. I think so. We have, how long did your animations take to make? Thinking out loud.
Oh, I found a good one here.
Okay.
What are some of the best tips you've received when practicing animation that helped improve the quality of your content over time?
Oh man. So don't be afraid of hearing what people don't like. I think I've grown more as a creator of hearing what people don't like versus what people do like. Because if you just hear constantly like, great video, super funny, that was, best thing I've ever seen, blah, 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 you're not really going to evolve as a creator. So the best kind of feedback that I've ever gotten was people that are just like, hey, that joke didn't land too good. Or like, hey, maybe you stayed on this too long. And I'm like, all right. And I look back and I'm like, yeah, maybe they're right. So, really be able to take in criticisms, legit ones. If people are just saying like, all right, hate this on YouTube comment, don't worry about them. But like, take in real criticisms. Never think that what you're doing is perfect, or that like what you're doing is perfect for you. Always build like a community around you. They're totally different and varied. And learn from them, right? Never think that you don't got anything to learn, because you'll find out that you do at any time. Either if you're 2 days or 10 years into what you're doing, you got a lot to learn. So just be ready for that criticism.
Awesome.
Sure.
So I actually think we got through all of the questions that we didn't cover in the actual roundtable discussion. Yep. I don't know if there are any more. I guess we'll give people a minute or two to maybe get them in. But yeah, this was a fantastic discussion.
Totally. This has been super fun. You guys are great.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Here's a good one. Why do some animators we'll make this our last question, I think. Why do some animators go into storytime animation rather than animation stories? I guess maybe they mean like typical animation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Stories. I think a lot of people, when they're creating content on YouTube, of course they're going to create something that they like. And Storytime, as you guys know, like had just this explosion of popularity over the last like half decade, right? So I think a lot of people, it's a good entryway into what you want to do, because it's not as labor intensive. It's still labor intensive, it's animation, but it's not as labor intensive as like these frame by frame created stories, the Harry Partridges of the world, the Zelinkis of the world, the Ginger Perils of the world. So I think it's this good entry into like, do I want to do this digital animation? Do I really want to figure this out? So, I do recommend trying story time animation. If you love it, continue it. But if you want to kind of branch into these like, fantasy stories, or you invent these characters and do stuff, try it all. But I think people hop into it because it's kind of an obvious door to try before anything else.
Yeah, and I think the other thing is, like, years ago there was a big shift towards watch time on YouTube, and storytime animation really arrived out of a need for the genre to survive on the platform. Because all of a sudden you couldn't make your money off of, say, a 1 minute long, really well animated short that you could then follow up like 6 months down the line. And so, like, it's just arrived out of, I think, a need to survive, which I, like, am all for. Like, I think the arrival of the Storytime Animator has been really great for animation as a whole, and then especially on YouTube.
Totally. Yeah, no, that's pretty, yeah, you gotta evolve with the algorithm. Adapt.
Yep.
All right.
Hey.
So I think we can call it here and start signing off. Circle, where can the people find you?
They can find me over on YouTube, CircleToonsHD, or on Twitter, CircleToonsHD. I know, pretty crazy. You can find me there if my general stuff's on YouTube. I'm now streaming every other Friday. Me and something else, YT Adam, keep flip-flopping every Friday, so you can find me on those live streams. And then if you wanted to see wherever I'm going to be outside of that, or my dumb ranting posts, you can go to my Twitter, CircleToonsHD.
Awesome. Andrea?
Oh, I don't know if you can really find me anywhere.
You're an enigma. You're a ghost.
I'm a social ghost, but you can find Channel Frederator at our YouTube channel is Channel Frederator Network, and I believe that everything else, our handle is at Channel FredNet. And we frequently post just content from all of our amazing network members. So check it out.
Yeah, and you can find me on Twitch. I stream Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays, and Sundays, usually art streams. I'm Tricky_Kappa, and then I am the same thing on Twitter. So follow me there if you want to stay up to date on what I'm up to. So yeah, we're going to call it here. Thank you to the amazing VidCon Now team for organizing this. If you all want to keep this discussion going, please visit the official VidCon Discord server, to keep talking there. And we will see you all next year.
Yeah. Thanks, everybody.